After Lenin's death in 1924, Joseph Stalin emerged out of the power struggle as the sole leader of Russia. In Life Under Stalin, we will explore the different areas of life under Stalinist policies, starting with the policy of collectivization as part of Stalin's 5-year plan.
I work on a collective farm in Kyiv, Ukraine.
What's life like?
During spring, we hardly had any seeds left. The communists took all of our grains, even though they knew we were starving. They searched and took whatever they found, including some corn that my mother has hidden. People were so hungry that they pulled all the seeds that we managed to plant and ate them.
What were the collective farms like?
Most of the land remained unused because people didn't have seeds to plant, and there weren't enough hands to do the planting. Many couldn't even walk, and those could had little strength left. When harvest season arrived, there weren't enough farmers to gather the grain, so Russians were brought to assist the collective, and they received provisions in return for their help.
What happened to those who couldn't work on the farm?
At the harvest, many people tried to collect any remaining grains on the field, but they were either shot or sent to the gulags. My aunt was taken away because she was accused of stealing from the collective farm.
People tried to leave Ukraine?
The train stations were full of starving and dying people. Everyone wanted to go to Russia because they thought there were no famine there. However, most died on the way there or was rejected at the Russian border.
Were the schools still open there?
No, there were so few children that the school closed in February 1933.
Was there cannibalism then, if there was no food?
Yes, there was this guy who died, and his family cut him up and ate him. Then the communists came and took them away, and I never saw them again.
What is your name and profession, and what work do you do?
I'm the manager of a steel factory, and I would prefer to remain anonymous.
What's it like being a manager of a steel factory?
Well, it's a very high-pressure job. I'm often stressed out. The quality of our goods is rapidly declining. We have to meet these impossible quotas, so it's hard to do a good job. We try to produce quantity rather than quality to meet the quotas.
What do you think of the Communist Party's vision to modernize and ramp up industrial production?
I dislike the direction that they're leading us in. I don't think that these 5-year plans are working. Quotas are being made impossible to reach. But there's nothing any of us can do, or we will be sent to the gulag.
How are the workers being treated in your factory? What pressures from work do they feel?
Working conditions are rather poor. The workers often fear that they will be sent to the gulag for tiny mistakes, like being 10 minutes late to work, not working hard enough, taking breaks for too long, spreading rumors, or bad-mouthing the factory or the Communist Party. Like I was saying before, the quotas being set by the government are very stressful and difficult to reach without cutting and the quality of the product. Sometimes, even then, it is difficult. Just last week, we had to meet a quota of 1,500 tons of steel in one day.
How do you feel about a command economy?
I don't like a command economy. Every business should be able to make their own decisions independent of the government. If we had a capitalist system, it would lead to a lot of competition, which is very
What's your name, and what were you formerly before you got sentenced to the gulags?
My name is Galina Petrov, and I was a wealthy landowning peasant.
So what crime were you convicted of?
I was sent to the gulags for resisting collectivization. I was mandated to relinquish my farm animals, but instead I chose to slaughter them.
What are some of the other crimes committed by other prisoners here?
Many of the prisoners here were late or absent from work and therefore are punished by years of labor in the gulags. Maria Chabatareva stole 3 pounds of the rye confiscated as part of collectivization, so she's currently serving a decade-long sentence.
What's life like in the gulags?
Life in the gulags is harsh. Fellow prisoners and even sometimes the camp guards are violent, and we rarely have enough of the basic necessities such as food. Not only do we often go hungry, but we frequently have to face the food in hard elements and heavy labor.
The gulags that this peasant were talking about were the infamous labor camps inside Ukraine. where people were treated terribly and forced to work hardly. Stalin's policies also targeted other politicians, leading to the elimination of many of his political opponents. Leon Trotsky is one of the few who escaped Russia and kept his life for now. Who are you?
My name is Leon Trotsky. I'm a former official in Lenin's first government who led the Red Army. And I am one of Stalin's political opponents.
So what was your political career like before Stalin came to power?
I was exiled twice for revolutionary activity. The first time I was exiled, it was for helping to write revolutionary newspapers. Originally, I was part of the Menshevik Party, but after being arrested before the revolution, I was appointed to the Bolsheviks. And because of revolutionary disturbances in 1905, I helped organize strikes and other measures of defiance against the Tsarist government. During the revolution, I operated as the military leader, and I defeated Kerensky, who was the leader of the Whites, or the counter-revolutionaries. And I was Lenin's right-hand man, and this meant leading countermeasures to defend the Soviet Congress.
So how did Stalin rise to power? And what was he like initially?
So initially I worked with him during the revolution, but Stalin, what he did is he initiated political moves, like creating an alliance with whoever supported him, whoever gave him more power, and he would also create alliances to overcome whoever was against him and help him get power. And opposition against me led to me getting deported from this country. I was exiled to Siberia in 1900 after being arrested in 1898.
Why do you think you and many other politicians were eliminated?
We were eliminated because, as political opponents, we were getting too powerful and too popular, and Stalin disliked us. Stalin also wanted a lot of power for himself, so he took advantage of this power struggle after Lenin died, and in the end he just rose on top. Additionally, many high-ranking officials and officers were used as scapegoats for his failing policies, and this deflected, obviously, a lot of the blame away from him. Examples of this included the Moscow show trials, where 16 prominent old Bolsheviks, including myself, were tried and found guilty for plotting out against Stalin.
So what propaganda has Stalin been putting out?
Stalin claimed that collectivization was voluntary, but in reality there was a lot of violence due to uprisings. The propaganda put out framed the local officials and mismanagement as the reasons that collectivization wasn't as successful and the peasants were starving. Also, in reality, there was violence against the peasants that forced them to join collectivization, and these uprisings were often suppressed by the Red Army. Another piece of propaganda was the housing situation. So Stalin claimed that during this period of time there would be good quality housing for everyone, and a lot of the propaganda he put out included posters of modern apartments and living quarters, but the reality is that most of the population lived in slums, and some even lived with their livestock.
To you, who is Stalin?
I believe Stalin is a hero, and only him can save us at this point.
I think that his ideology, or Stalinism, is cruel. And in exile, I hated his treatment because I was prevented from defending myself against critics and speaking out against Stalin.
I know a lot of people see Stalin as a savior and a powerful leader who led the revolution and is successfully bringing rapid modernization to Russia. But me personally, I just don't think that these 5-year plans of his are working. I would revolt if I wasn't so scared of him.
Stalin is the savior of the people. He is rapidly modernizing Russia and is fair and candid when it comes to leading the country. There have been reports of many people who wrote "Long live Stalin" on the walls of their prison cells. However, I heard that there was an officer that admitted to attempting to assassinate Stalin, and I think it's people like him who are corrupting Russia.